Good morning, my Real News Midday TV family. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning, and I'm wishing for everyone a wonderful and a productive day. And in the news this morning, Indicom probing death of taxi operator shot by policeman in St. Anne. The Independent Commission of Investigations has launched a probe into the death of a taxi operator who was shot by a policeman during an altercation in St. Anne in April. Kenroy McIntosh died on Tuesday, and his family is blaming his death on the injuries he sustained in the controversial shooting. Mr. McIntosh was charged with attempted murder and wounding after he was accused of using his vehicle to attack a member of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. He was shot after allegedly using his motor vehicle to run over the foot of a policeman during a traffic stop. But his attorney, Oswester Senior Smith, had disputed the claim of the policeman and insisted that his client was shot without any justification. Mr. Senior Smith told the news on Thursday that Mr. McIntosh had been suffering badly from the bullet wound to the point of experiencing seizures. He was readmitted to hospital last week, where he died. The attorney said Indicom has requested a post-mortem. The case against the taxi operator was mentioned in court last month.
Up to recently, about 2 to 3 weeks ago, Mr. McIntosh suffered seizures, the first that he was experiencing in his entire life. And the seizures, as I understand it, were based on the injuries which he sustained from the gunshot which he received from the policeman back in April of this year. And now it appears that he has met his ultimate demise as a result of the wounding by the agent of the state back in April of 2025. I understand also that there's further intervention from Indicom, as they have requested that Mr. McIntosh's body is to be placed at a funeral home of their choosing, and further that they will be convening the post-mortem which is to be conducted on his body.
Judge orders release of Jamaican man detained in Bahamas. A Jamaican man detained in the Bahamas beyond the expiration of his deportation order has been ordered released by the Supreme Court. On Wednesday, Justice Dale Fitzpatrick granted a habeas corpus application for Javon Green, ruling that his continued detention was unlawful. Green, who is disabled and uses a wheelchair, had completed an 8-year prison sentence on February 7, 2025 for a 2018 incident in which he intentionally struck a man with his van following an argument. On February 10, Immigration Minister Alfred Sears signed a 90-day deportation order which expired on May 11. But Green remained in custody beyond that date. His lawyer, Martin Lundy, filed the petition challenging the legality of his detention. Fitzpatrick said under Bahamian immigration law, detention must be tied to a valid deportation order. Since that order had expired, he ruled that Green's detention was no longer lawful and ordered his immediate release. A government attorney told the court that efforts to deport Green within the required time were hindered by delays from Jamaican authorities. The ruling, however, does not prevent Bahamian immigration officials from re-arresting Green, who remains in the country without a legal status. Students not performing at a grade level will no longer advance automatically. Come September, the practice of moving students from one grade level to the next, regardless of academic development, will be discontinued. The announcement was made by Chairman of the Education Transformation Oversight Committee, Dr. Adrian Stokes.
Students who are not at the requisite level will be placed on a pathway that allows them to remediate the learning challenges they are experiencing. Individual learning plans will be developed for these students to ensure proper targeting of learning challenges. And I talked to Mrs. Thomas Gill Chief Education Officer so often about this, because this is such a significant effort being made to curtail some of the significant learning challenges that we're seeing in our primary schools. These students, some of them are placed in what is called the Pathway 3 by the ministry. They require focused attention to correct fundamental issues with literacy and numeracy. Therefore, I'm happy that come this September, students who require academic assistance, as indicated by their Pathway 3 grouping, will do only 6 subjects in grade 7 instead of the multiple subjects some are currently undertaking. These students will be taken through a more targeted program to ensure they are better equipped to pursue a successful secondary school life. It's a very important development.
Education Minister Dr. Dana Morris Dixon said the number of subjects pursued by each student will increase based on their progress. Last month, the Gleaner reported that more than 70% of the roughly 220 grade 7 students at Pembroke Hall High School are unable to read or do so only at the grade 3 level. Man charged after hammer attack leaves a victim in critical condition. A 20-year-old man has been charged after allegedly attacking another man with a hammer during a dispute in Savannah Lamar, Westmoreland, leaving the victim critically injured. Accused 20-year-old Alaska Reed, otherwise called Massacre, a laborer of Dexter Street, Savannah Lamar, Westmoreland, is charged with wounding with intent. Reports are that at 11:40 a.m., Reed and another man had a dispute that became physical, during which Reed allegedly used a hammer to hit the man in his head and upper body. The man was assisted to the hospital, where he was admitted in a critical condition. A report was made to the police, and Reed was later pointed out and taken into custody. He was formally charged on Wednesday, July 23, after witness statements were recorded implicating him. His court date is being finalized. Director of Elections clarifies a timeline for election. The Electoral Office of Jamaica has sought to clarify the timeline in which the next general election must be held. The opposition People's National Party has claimed that it would not support a delay in the holding of the polls. But Director of Elections Glasspool Brown, speaking Tuesday evening with the news, declared that the Constitution is clear on the matter.
The life of the Parliament, the current Parliament, ends on the 15th of September. The Constitution does speak to that in the sense that if the election is not called by the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister, it is Prime Minister's prerogative to call the election. If it is not called by the 15th of September, the Parliament will be automatically prorogued. And therefore, the Constitution allows for an election to be held within 3 months. So within that period, that would bring it down to December. But if you go back to precedents and what have happened in the past, normally, I don't think it has ever been triggered that way in terms of the calling of election. What normally happens is that prior to the expiry of the date of the life of the Parliament, the Prime Minister usually calls election. And we anticipate that will happen in this case. We are in the phase of preparation is geared mostly towards the recruitment of workers. We are fairly advanced with the recruitment. We are still short a little bit in 1 or 2 constituencies, but in the main, most of our, in terms of the numbers required, certainly in terms of the presiding officers, poll clerks, supervisors, reserves, etc., we are fairly comfortable in terms of where we want to be. So we have and linked to that is the whole question of training. We have completed most of the training, so certainly in terms of, as I said earlier, in terms of a large amount of our constituencies. There are a few consequences that we need to fine-tune and finalize in terms of numbers. But in a short order, certainly, hopefully before the end of this month, we should be completing that process. The number of things that are critical for us, like the identification of the polling stations. We have identified the location of the polling station in our constituencies. We have identified the nomination centers with the counting centers. So there's no major challenge. There are concerns, yes, but it's not a challenge in such that we don't have a solution to.
Guys, thanks for watching. Please join us this afternoon at 2 p.m. for another news update.